we're live. All right. Are you there, Matt?
I'm here.
All right. So let us know in the chat if anything's weird about the audio. This is our first time trying to balance Discord audio on the live stream, so I'm not sure if my microphone and Matt's audio are going to work well. But yeah, this is our quarantine special because I'm in quarantine. So yeah, my daughter tested positive from school, so it's a week stuck inside. So no Chris this week, but I have with me a long distance virtual co-host. I guess you're not virtual; you're real. you're just you're just tuning in or remotely. So yeah, Matt is here with me, and so you may remember Matt and I from such videos as the Friend or Foe stream that we did for the 2,000 subscribers, and also the unboxing of the mystery bag, the Dungeon Crawl Classics. So we've done a few things together on the channel, and Matt was kind enough to help me out this week, so I'm not just talking to myself, sitting in front of some empty chairs virtually and talking to myself. All right, so I think we're good. Yeah, so we'll do a little Kickstarter discussion this week. And so this extra, so if you are either joining us live or a patron on Patreon, you're hearing all of this exciting pre and post audio. So we'll go to the chat. We'll go to the chat after kind of the main discussion. But so how are things going, Matt? Anything new in your gaming life?
That's going pretty well. About 9 o'clock here in the evening. Gaming, I'm playing Dungeon Crawl Classics. Just a hoot.
Nice.
For old school Gonzo role playing. A lot of fun.
Excellent. That's good. Yeah, we gotta figure out an online virtual tabletop session of that sometime. I'd love to. Yeah, love to try that out. There's a lot of things we should do, because I also want to give Mikhail's Cthulhu, the Rules Light Cthulhu set, a run. So I just got to find a good adventure for that, and then kind of tweak it a little bit for that system. But yeah, that would be really fun. So he shared with me a draft of the English rules. So they auto translate like pretty easily, machine translate pretty easily. But he shared with me a copy of a draft of the English rules, so I have a full rule set that we can use, and it's really easy to teach, because it is rules light. It's really easy to teach.
If you want to accidentally leave me the link to your cloud thing so I can read one.
Yes, yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, I'll check because they're still working on. He's trying to figure out a company to get it published in English, because I guess like he mentioned in the interview, the Swedish publisher also localizes and translates Chaosium's stuff into Swedish, so they don't want to ruin that relationship by releasing like a competing Cthulhu property in the U.S. or in English speaking markets. So he's got to find like somebody else. He's got to find an alternative publisher, and Frog Games, the Japanese publisher, is talking about that too, but they're more a little bit more motivated to do a Korean and a Chinese translation first. I think they've got a better understanding of those markets first, and also that would be only theirs. There would be almost no competition because those markets are much less populated.
Thought of a role-playing game needing a shell corporation to.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and so many creators too, are just using itch.io and ways to just directly access fans. So yeah, and I think once maybe that would be more of a possibility once he's more of an established name in the English-speaking market, because I think in Sweden he's been doing it for like 12 years. He's been releasing things for about 12 years, but only one English release on Drive-Thru RPG right now. So we will see. But that was a fun conversation. Yeah, so take a look at that. If you haven't listened to that interview, take a look at that. And I'm working on Japanese subtitles for that interview, so that the Japanese fans of his game can follow his interview. So hopefully those will be finished soon. All right, so we'll have a little Kickstarter discussion. Hey, K5, how's it going? So Miguel and K5 are in the chat. And Matt is in the chat too. Wait a minute. How are you doing that? All right. So yeah, we'll get started with the regular deal here. So I'm in my hacker lab. My background is really terrible. So if you're only listening to the audio, be very happy that you're not seeing this silly Discord video background.
I'm in my living room.
That's not a Discord background? I thought for sure.
No, it's not.
All right. Okay, well, let's get this started. Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy. And this week... well, sorry.
Sorry.
No, I was going to introduce you. And there's no Chris. No, Chris. No, that's no problem. Well, actually, there's no Chris this week. And with me is a special guest host. And that would be Matt. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Jeremy.
Sorry, I guess we should have rehearsed.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
No, I needed to say there's no Chris at some point. But so this is our quarantine special because I am confined to the house for a week. And so there's no office, no lunchtime, no Chris. So Matt was kind enough to remotely guest host with me. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Matt.
You're welcome. I can bring the D&D hate, but I can't bring the Blade Runner hate.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We'll have to get in touch with Chris for hating on the Blade Runner. Yeah. So so a little bit different format this week. We're going to just have one topic and just kind of explore a few different things in that topic. And this week's topic will be Kickstarters. So just basically their general effect on the tabletop industry, good things that they're doing and bad things that they're doing. And we'll do that by taking a look at 3 currently active Kickstarters and just kind of compare the types of companies and the types of, I guess, motivations and goals that they might have for being on Kickstarter. And as we talked about recently on the cast, now Kickstarter finally has some similar competition, at least in tabletop. GameFound is a new platform that was previously working only as kind of a pledge manager, but they've officially launched now, and they are tabletop only, so only role-playing games and board games and card games and things are on that platform. So they're trying to take a bite out of what is a very popular category on Kickstarter. So we'll see how that goes. So Matt, what is the last thing, the most recent thing that you've pledged on Kickstarter?
The most recent thing was Thunder Road, which is
oh, nice. So
not Renegade Games. Oh shoot.
Restoration
Games.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Of a very old Mad Max style, car battle game.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a hoot. I'm really excited to get that one.
Yeah, I've got Return to Dark Tower supposedly in the country. It's supposedly in Japan, so it's going to make it in the next week or so. It'll make it here. So I'm really interested to see the quality of their production, because Restoration Games was kind of in competition for the Hero Quest license. And of course, Hasbro grabbed that away from them, and Hasbro did a real poor job. Like the quality of their components and everything was really weak, as they do, basically do with their standard role play, board games that go to, big box stores and things. So I guess it's not surprising, but I think Restoration would have done a much nicer job with that title. So
it would have turned it up to 11.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. And it's too bad because the artwork was very generic, and a lot of tokens and things for the board that were printed only on one side. So you had like a white a white paper side and then a printed side. So that's very, that's very Chutes and Ladders or Candyland or whatever. Yeah, that's a little too kiddie. So I was put off by that because they were charging a bit of a premium on their HasLab crowdfunder. Well, that's good. So have you pledged anything that went very far outside of tabletop? Is it mostly tabletop games and things that you've supported on crowdfunding?
It's mostly tabletop gaming. I have pledged for some fermentation jars. What can I say? I took a stab at fermenting things.
Nice. Yeah, there's such a huge variety. I mean, like people's like theater performances and books, and there's such a huge variety of things. But it seems like tabletop is a really strong category, and I think they've probably had better success because I know a lot of I've become very cautious of video games and PC game Kickstarter campaigns because so many of those have run into they just underestimated budgets that they would require for completing full games, and so many of those have just disappeared, and that isn't so much the case with tabletop. And I don't know why, because there's like a physical component that has to go to a factory or go to a printer to be produced. So it's amazing that they've had so much success, like so much actually fulfilled projects compared to
it seems like they probably get fulfilled more consistently, but they probably delays are a big thing.
Yeah, that's true. I think there was like a 4 to 5 year Siege of the Citadel delay from that final wave. Yeah, it was actually, I think it was almost 5 years since they since they ran that Kickstarter until it was fulfilled. And I guess that explains why Modifius doesn't deal with Mutant Chronicles anymore. But yeah, so it's an interesting kind of situation that we have right now, because I think we're in kind of a golden age of tabletop, and there's a great OSR old school revival, and a lot of really great board games being produced. And so Kickstarter is a good way to not only promote, but get things funded that maybe would have trouble getting attention, or at least getting investment capital or bank loans to get them produced. So why don't we take a look? Let's see if I can get my scene to work here for all you audio listeners that have no idea what I'm doing. So let's take a quick look at a few of the active campaigns. All right. So one of the companies that seems to have a little bit of an addiction to Kickstarter that we've looked at in the past is CMON. And CMON now uses a company called 2LM Press, which is Two Little Mice Press, to design their all of their RPGs. So all of their RPGs are now being produced through 2LM. So that would be anything from like the Genesis system, and if they, I think still the Star Wars licenses, everything that they still have. That's Fantasy Flight. Yeah. What else are they doing? CMON's got a lot of licenses. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's not Genesis. Yeah, role playing. Yeah. CMON's role playing. They have a Zombicide. I think they have a Zombicide role playing game, and they're doing something else. But 2LM is handling all of that. And so one of the things that they had success with previously was an RPG called Household. And I think it was originally, 2LM is an Italian studio. And originally this was produced in Italian and then I think translated to English. And they're doing a new edition of it now, kind of a very, from the looks of it, a very deluxe edition on the website. So this was probably, motivated by the success and kind of the reach that CMON has on Kickstarter, because I think all of their projects end up on the front page. They have a good relationship and have raised millions of dollars for Kickstarter. So they definitely got that attention. But as you can see, it's a pretty nice kind of deluxe release of this pre-existing game. And I think this game previously won some Ennies, like the first English translation of it won some Ennie awards. So what's that?
System?
Yeah, it's a D6 system. It's like a special dice D6 system. It's a kind of fun original system based on suits of playing cards. So the four suits of playing cards, and there's like a Joker side to the dice, and then the four suits, and those all power the characteristics, the four kind of types of not only character abilities but then specific skills. So it's not 5e or anything. It's an original system that they did. So if you don't know CMON, which if you've been on Kickstarter, it's impossible to avoid them. They do a lot of, I guess, what you'd have to call Ameritrash board games. So board games with a ton of plastic, real bright and flashy stuff. They work with Eric M. Lang a lot as a designer. I think he's probably on staff, and he did a series of kind of the historical, kind of what you'd consider like his historical periods combat games. So there was a feudal Japan, a Viking theme, and then most recently an Egyptian themed game that were kind of area control combat games, but with a lot of miniatures, a lot of big scale monsters and things. So that's what CMON is mostly known for. And recently they've had the Marvel license, and they've been doing a lot of licensed IP games, which they're bringing to Kickstarter. And that's something we should probably talk about when we talk about another campaign that's live now. But it seems like the original intent, like I think Kickstarter started in like 2008, 2009. And their original intent was, to give projects that wouldn't have a chance to be produced a crowdfunding source. So people are pledging for a project that is hopefully going to be produced, that is, to some degree on the way to being produced, and just needs kind of finishing funds. It needs the money to print or money to pay artists or pay writers or whatever. So that helped a lot of smaller projects, and I think that got a lot of attention to smaller companies like CMON was, in the beginning with the board games. Give them a chance to produce things at a much higher level and present them to a much bigger audience. But now, now after the multi millions of dollars of success that CMON has had in a lot of their large scale board games, they're now moving into licensed IP games and still bringing those to Kickstarter. And maybe you're kind of addicted to that cycle because,
I feel like CMON is, medium and to large game companies are now using Kickstarter as really just their online store,
yeah,
marketing tool.
Right. Yeah. And Kickstarter has, plastered all over it. This is not a pre-order. This is not a pre-order, because they're saying they're not guaranteeing this thing is ever going to be produced. But I think a lot of companies that have had success on the platform are now, just seeing it as a good way to get some numbers, before they go to the factory to have an idea about how many units to produce. So, unfortunately, I think that's overshadowing and kind of pushing out of the way a lot of smaller projects. And it's not like Kickstarter is like a zero-sum game. It's not like if you give your money to CMON, no one is going to give it to a smaller project. But still, all of the stuff is still out there, and especially smaller projects also usually have smaller price tags. So it's not like that's a finite amount of resources, but it's still the promotion and the attention that you can get on the Kickstarter page, I think, would be better served. Like if you've already made $1 million on your campaign, I don't think we need to advertise it anymore on the front page of Kickstarter. I think you consider yourself a success and can pay for your own marketing at that point. But
I was going to ask, do you know, are the Kickstarters, are they able to pay more prominence on the web page?
I'm not sure, yeah, how that works, because I know that they have their top picks. So yeah, Kickstarter pretends, or kind of like has this like unbiased way that they seem to have their editors pick things, but it could be a pay to play kind of situation. I think though it does depend on popularity, but and unfortunately, I guess the incentive would be for Kickstarter to support larger projects, because so how the system works, if you've never gone anywhere near Kickstarter, so it's a crowdfunding platform where a project is launched. They set a goal price, and then they have these pledge levels for different types of rewards. And the more successful and the further over their goal they get, sometimes they'll do things like stretch goals, which means they'll add things to a project. And so they get this large amount of money that is usually after 30 days. It's usually like a month that these projects run. Sometimes it can be shorter, like 7 or 14 days if it's a real small kind of rapid turnaround project. So then the money is collected. Kickstarter takes 5%, and then their credit card processor takes another 3 to 5%. So 10% of that money is already gone from the creator. They get that transferred to them, and then they can work on actually producing the project. But many things can go wrong before then, and it's basically best effort. Like the terms that they put it in is the company that's presenting these Kickstarter projects has to put forth their best effort and kind of just genuinely try to do something and produce regular updates. They have to kind of regularly update people on the situation. So there have been some projects that have gone very far south, or have been not really well planned, and they were just hoping to make enough money to then decide what they were going to do for the projects themselves. But luckily tabletop seems to be a little more immune to that. There's a lot more good faith, and the communities seem to sniff out bad projects a little bit faster. If you've ever been in the comment section of a Kickstarter, you'll know how vicious they can be, but a lot of times that serves to call BS on projects that don't seem to be going anywhere or don't seem to know what they're doing. So that I've seen a lot of canceled projects. So a company can, in the middle of this campaign, just say, okay, yeah, this isn't going to happen, or something is wrong. There's like a legal problem or something that they hadn't sorted out already. So they'll cancel a project, and then everybody just, doesn't get charged anything. But yeah, and another one of the aspects is, so it's credit card. It's basically like everyone is pledging on a credit card, and that's why Stripe is involved and gets their little piece, because they process all of Kickstarter's credit card charges. But that also means that restricts a lot of people in different countries to being able to participate. So Kickstarter has kind of region limitations, and even a lot of pledges, or I'm sorry, a lot of campaigns will even specifically say, we don't allow people from these areas to back our projects. But the credit cards also make that something that's much more limiting. So yeah, compared to some other platforms, I think Kickstarter isn't as open as it could be. But but you have this these companies that are regularly, like CMON, these companies that are regularly on the platform and produce high quality stuff. But I think without this platform, they would have much smaller catalogs.
So CMON's quality is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I played them. I don't think I've ever owned one, but I've played some of their games, and their quality is tremendous.
Mm.
But they are making so much money. You're just kind of like, what is this for?
Yeah, right. And it's almost like, because of the way that the money's dispersed, like at the end of these projects, and then you've got maybe like a year or whatever of production, it almost seems like some of these companies want to get back on Kickstarter as soon as possible, so that they're actually, like, the funds that they're actually receiving, they're still funding their previous project with. So they get on this this kind of treadmill that gets them addicted to this platform, because they want to produce these high quality projects, and maybe don't quite have the money. And another thing that does seem to keep coming up, especially for smaller projects, is shipping. And shipping prices have changed a lot. So some of the failure or some of the maybe there's a successful Kickstarter, but as far as a financial investment for the company, they end up being a very minor or sometimes a loss for the company is when they don't correctly estimate like what it's going to cost to ship things out. I think that because you're shipping internationally, you're open to a pretty big market, even using the Stripe credit card service. Yeah, I think of that money that you lose the 10% of, you probably then lose almost another 50% just to get those things actually shipped to where they're supposed to be. So I think first time companies run into some pretty shocking postage bills. So what's that?
The failure, one of the legendary Kickstarter failures is the Ogre game by Steve Jackson.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I think that was I don't remember what year that was now, but it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were talking about tabletop gamers being a little more on top of the companies that are putting out products, and I think it's because a lot of people learned hard lessons early on.
Mm-hmm.
Ogre, I think, almost killed Steve Jackson games.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely a possibility. So what happened? Kind of remind people or like let people know that don't know about that project. What happened? Like, was it bloat? Was it like a stretch goal bloat? Or yeah,
it was, and the box and everything that they added to it became so titanically huge that the shipping was just insane.
Right.
And it took them forever to fulfill because they just weren't prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Such a massive thing. I think a lot of companies learned from Jackson stepping on that landmine for them.
Wow. Yeah, I've noticed that with a lot of recent Steve Jackson stuff. They say U.S. shipping only, maybe like U.S. and Canada shipping only. So they're not even going to go into the international shipping game, which probably at this point, because it's so unpredictable, the prices are so unpredictable, is probably a good step. They still do international shipping from their web store. So if you wait for things, like you can't pledge things, but if you're international, I've actually bought things from their Warehouse 23. Yeah. I bought things from them, and they do ship internationally. The shipping rates are crazy, but you can get them. But yeah, I think they definitely did learn once they made a coffin size box of Ogre that you weren't going to be able to send that anywhere. Yeah,
that was pre resin minis, so
oh yeah,
I think I'm pretty sure it was all. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was all metal.
Mm-hmm.
So the shipping probably just was 10 times worse.
Yeah, that's true. Wow. Yeah, so that is and they're not they're not a company that's new to mail order or anything. They've been around forever. So that's surprising. And I guess it's just because, they were enjoying the enthusiasm and the funds that were coming in, and just not predicting that this was actually going to be a physically impossible task. Wow. All right, let's take a look at another campaign. There we go. So the Blade Runner campaign. So Free League, who I had a lot of respect for, because when they launched their Alien RPG, they didn't go to Kickstarter. They relied on the strength of the IP. They just, did a pre-order for that game system and just released it on their web store, and then through retail. You could get it, through Amazon or whatever as it came out for retail. But Blade Runner, which I would think is an equally popular IP, is on Kickstarter. So what are your thoughts about that, Matt?
Well, my first thought was why.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt shame because I knew I was going to back it anyway.
Right.
Like, they got me. Damn it. And they know they got me. Then I watched, they did a live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Really is very good about their communication. And they did a live stream where they talked to the writer and I can't remember his name, one of the lead guys at Free League.
Mm-hmm.
And they did do a question and answer from fans. One of the questions was, so why are we putting this on Kickstarter?
Mm-hmm.
And the short sum it up kind of answer was, well, we love our Kickstarter community and it's a lot of fun. It's like, yeah, it's also $1.4 million so far.
Right. That's fun too.
uh,
It's
yeah.
even more in Swedish crowns. Yeah.
I would love to see the licensing agreement.
Mm.
I'm curious if like there's stuff going on behind the scenes where like, oh yeah, you need to make this much money or else, you
Yeah.
know.
Right. Yeah, I think they to guarantee the success. Yeah, to guarantee numbers. I think yeah, going to Kickstarter was probably their best choice. And I guess in these times of a little bit more uncertainty, supply chain issues, because it's not like Free League has been free of problems. They've had delays. Like there's a Forbidden Lands book that's been delayed. They had a printing problem. And Matt is suffering that delay. And they had a printing problem with their dice, their custom dice for the One Ring, and they didn't handle that very well as far as replacing those dice. So, yeah, it's interesting that they are doing this, and this is my criticism. Like we were just talking about CMON, and this is my criticism of them taking Marvel comics or Hellboy or a lot of like established characters, even I think it's Walking Dead, and there was a lot of things, or no, that's somebody else is doing Walking Dead, but there's a lot of IPs. There's a lot of, I got to get my come on straight. There's a lot of
Yeah.
IPs that make it to Kickstarter, and they have such a built-in audience that even if people don't know what this thing is, I like this IP, so I will support this game. You get a lot of that, and so Blade Runner has definitely benefited from that. I'm sure there's. I think I've even seen. I read through the comments a little bit, and I've seen people that have said, "I've never played a tabletop role playing game. Hopefully, this will be my first one that I play." It's like, okay, but I guess
Well, it is
though,
a good system.
yeah, and the books themselves, have a lot of lore. They collect a lot of the lore of or what they've licensed. So this is the setting for this game is between the two films. So they fleshed out a little bit. There's been some animated shorts of what happened between these two films, and I think there was like a prequel animation to get you ready for 2049, and none of it's very good. I don't like anything that happened personally. I don't like anything that
Black Lo-
happened between those movies.
Black Lotus, is that what that one's
Yes,
called?
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so you can find those. Yeah,
Okay.
you can find those online, and so I don't know how interesting that world is going to be to play in, but if you are familiar with recent Kickstarters that they've done, like the One Ring, this set or this campaign looks very familiar. So it's going to be a core book, but then they're also doing a starter set, and so it's just a way to to immediately play, which is it's a little odd to like have those things together. I think it worked okay with the One Ring, but it gave you're only playing hobbits, basically in the starter set for the
They
Ring.
on their Q&A they kind of talked about that
Oh,
having the starter set in the book,
hmm
and part of the reason is because they're really emphasizing this investigation system in the
hmm
game, which I'm pretty excited to check out.
hmm
But um, part of that is actual photographic evidence,
right.
and they said we needed a box to put that.
Yeah, no,
you know
that's true, because a book with if you need so many accessories, like so many actual props for the tabletop, yeah, you can't just put that in a core book, or you can't just give people a PDF and expect them to be happy. Yeah, because as you can see on this page, there is a huge amount of cards, images of the NPCs, and then all of these files and maps and things. So yeah, and the one thing that I was surprised by, and this is not specifically related to Kickstarter, this is more of a year zero engine. I was surprised that they aren't sticking to D6s anymore. I when I think year zero, I'm like, yeah, D6, but I guess after their experience with Twilight 2000, they thought rolling fewer dice, it would fit Blade Runner better. So you're not going to roll handfuls of D6s. So it's a D6, a D8, a D10, and D12, and that's enough swing. And so I guess similar to like Cortex Prime, or your level the sided die that you use depends on your level. So if you know you have a D8 in something, you know you're a little bit more proficient than D6. So that seems to come, yeah.
Little Savage Worlds like.
Oh, yeah.
Because your attributes, at least in Twilight 2000, your attribute will have a die and your skill will have a die.
Mm-hmm.
You'll check both dice. You need a 6 to succeed, so 8s are better at that, 10s are even better, and 12s are the best.
Right.
And I believe if you get 10, 11, or 12, it counts as multiple successes. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. So I think that'll work well. I was just surprised. Surprised we're moving away from D6s. I thought that was their bread and butter. And of course, on the Kickstarter itself, you see that they're doing a limited edition cover. So again, they're doing some faux leather and some holographic foil to give you to add $50 to the price of the exact same book. I don't think anyone's going to be able to beat the Modifius doing the artisanal leather bound Dune rulebook, for what, $750, whatever. So no one's going to beat that. So everything else sounds reasonable after that. But this looked very familiar to their other campaigns, and it seems pretty limited. Even though they have almost 1.5 million, they're still not to any significant stretch goals that are going to add much expense to the production of the game. It's just an additional character class and another set of dice. They didn't go completely out of control with scaling things up.
Is it still just one starting adventure, or did they add more?
I think there's still just the one. Yeah, the Electric Dreams one, I think, is the only thing that I've seen mentioned. Yeah, as far as I've seen, they've just added a little bit more, like there's like newspaper handouts and things that more physical goods that are going to be in that starter box. So I guess, though, that starter box can get pretty full, and that thing's going to have to go to retail. So that'll be interesting. They may actually, the retail price of that box may actually have to increase just because of the production. Yeah, but one of the things that I think the last thing that got unlocked was like manila envelopes with the actual agency logos, the LAPD logo and things on them.
Oh, nice.
So you can hide things. Yeah. So a lot more. And that was something that I kind of unconsciously did when we played the Alien RPG, is I covered the table with props, because my image of Alien was kind of the dinner scene, so after
the table.
So there's just a bunch of stuff around the table, and so I just kind of covered the table with props, and a lot of the players kind of got drawn or attached to a specific thing, and I think it helped a little bit with roleplay. So this might do that same sort of thing when you're like opening files and flipping through photos. That's going to feel very investigator like, and so may help with the session to feel more immersive, because you're going to actually have physical things to hold in your hands. Oh yeah, and it helps. What's that?
I was just gonna say it helps. It helps with everyone's suspension of disbelief and getting into the feel of it. And it's a fairly smooth system, so I think the game will get out of the way a lot. I hope.
Yeah, I think so. And the illustrator, they're using Martin Grip again for the. Just his beautiful digital art for everything. So I like his character portraits and stuff. They're evocative enough, but not too detailed. They're more like digital oil paintings. So they work well to suggest things. Yeah. So this is very similar, and there is everything you can see on the screen. There's all of their previous projects, and so a lot of those that were original IPs, original settings that Freely created, went to Kickstarter. But Alien didn't, so Alien they thought was strong enough. So, but now they're back. So, yeah, I'm surprised, and they still have quite a few days. So, I wonder how high this is going to get as far as totals.
I get my $100 or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and they're still working on fulfilling some other projects. Yeah, so this was interesting. This was kind of a disappointment, because it also means that, we're not going to get it. We probably would have gotten it sooner if it would have just gone to a pre-order, and we would have gotten PDFs right away, which I think they are guaranteeing at the end of this Kickstarter, they are going to ship PDFs.
They're good about that.
Yeah. So I think that's that would be good. And of course, everything once it's in retail, everything shows up on drive-through as well. And they look like they're supporting not only Foundry but Roll20 for their virtual assets as well. So that's even a
I
little bit more.
had Twilight 2000 copies very late,
Mm-hmm.
and it was because they're a distributor in the U.S. The company called Fun Again,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought for sure because they got a lot of flack for that. I thought for sure they would drop Fun Again, but apparently they're still using it.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah, that was something I was surprised by. I did an unboxing, I think of an Awaken Realms game, and those always arrive, I think, because we get them like directly from Poland in Japan. So those always arrive really well packed and in pristine condition. And I was talking about that on the live stream, and somebody put in the comments, yeah, in North America we got these bashed and battered boxes that were just really poorly put together, and a lot of stuff showed up damaged. So people's experiences, just based on the fulfillment centers or fulfillment companies, are going to widely vary. And I think companies have to be very careful about that because like you're saying, the Fun Again screwing things up is that reflects on Free League. Like you don't, oh damn you Fun Again. No, you're thinking
right,
Free League, Free League
right.
screwed this up. Yeah. So we'll see how this goes and how this fulfills it. It looks really fun. I mean, the system itself and everything looks really fun, and it looks very immersive. But I hope this doesn't mean that Free League is on Kickstarter no matter what the project is. I can understand them wanting to gauge popularity of an original thing that they're offering or something that they're translating from Swedish or something, but I'm not interested in seeing another. I can't even think of another big IP that they could want to produce a game for. But yeah, this is very odd, but similar though. There's something similar though to Alien because it is already becoming kind of a strange, fractured setting. Like there's films that, even though they're sequels or things that they're doing that are prequels or whatever in between, the lore and everything is a little bit odd. So similar to Alien, with like having to figure out Prometheus and Alien Covenant somehow working within those movies.
I think
Yeah.
you have a fractured fan base too.
Mm.
Like you're gonna get this situation with games like these where you have some hardcore role players who are gonna make it whatever they want to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have new people who are gonna want it to fit their image of that property.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, those people are just gonna check out.
Yeah, well, that's true, and that's in this like newer generation of very elaborately produced games. Like there's so much illustration and so much artwork and so much goes into producing this. It does already kind of tell you, yeah, we're looking at the the 80s movie. Like that is our inspiration for this. And if you want to play the 2000, if you want to play 2049, that's it's not going to be it's not going to be like this. So previously when there would be an IP, there would just be a few like screenshots from the movie or a few like line illustrations, and so you wouldn't be pushed one way or another. In so if there's a movie purist or somebody, the role playing game itself wouldn't tell you that specifically. It would only be the mechanics maybe that would suggest anything that you might not like. But yeah, now that there's such rich production in these games, yeah, they definitely are saying this is what it looks like, this is what it feels like. So yeah, I think that can turn some people off or not be what they want. But once it gets to the tabletop, it's whatever you want it to be. So that's the good thing. You can redraw all of that NPC art.
This is probably a better topic for a different discussion,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like we've highlighted this before, but the new generation of role players
Mm-hmm.
aren't really given that tool set to just unbox it and make it what they want. They're expecting it all to be laid out for them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's tough. They're trying to please two very different groups, I think.
No, I think that's a good point. Is there are people that are just going to be looking at the game mechanics and thinking, what can I do with this? If is this the kind of game that I want to play? And there's other people that are like, okay, what's step one? Especially with a starter box and things, you're going to be like, okay, so let's go through character creation. It's 11 steps. And yeah. So yeah, it is, that is true. And I wonder if that comes from, just more, if you learned kind of role playing and things from PC RPGs, then you have the game, always those games are popping up tutorial windows and saying, if you hold down the shift key, your fireball will, it's like, so maybe a little bit of that kind of conditioning, people coming from that once they just get a book, it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? Where do I start?
Or, if they're coming in D&D like so many people are, it's, okay, level 1, I can do these things, and here it is what time I can do it, how many times I can do it. And it's all very regimented, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And yeah, and hopefully as they get more gaming experience, they'll start demanding more, or wanting to make it their own a little bit more. So hopefully we'll see that. And you do see a lot with I guess it's more, I'm thinking of it more in the kind of OSR space, but so many people contributing and coming up with new settings or character classes or whatever to games that are out there. So the community does develop a lot of things to do that can adjust the game to a little bit more of specifically what people want to play or want to see. All right, so let's take a look. Our last Kickstarter. Let me see if I can get there. There we go. So this is one that we've been waiting for. It's almost 6 months we've been waiting for this Kickstarter, and it is finally here. So we've mentioned it on the cast a few times, but Warzone Eternal, so Resnova's Warzone Eternal campaign has launched. And it's within the first day, I think, or close to that, it hit its $50,000 goal. So this is a new company producing, they license the IP to a classic, 90s miniatures war game, and set a pretty modest goal to produce things. But you can see in the scale of the campaign itself that everything is kind of modest, like what they're offering. Like even if you pledged everything in the whole Kickstarter, it's not physically that much stuff. So they're starting small to kind of scale up this world as the original game did. I mean, if you looked at the original Warzone, like even in the book, there weren't miniatures produced for a lot of units that were in the original rule book. So this is not unusual for what what you could expect for doing this. But I think after we've had CMON and some other companies come out so big with throwing so much plastic at you and so many fancy deluxe rule books and stuff, a campaign like this with a new company is having trouble getting the traction that I think it would have if this project was released by someone with a bigger Kickstarter presence. So when I'm talking about things being overshadowed by these like multi-million-dollar Kickstarters, this is the kind of thing that I think suffers, because there are people that had followed this project like on the Facebook group and whatever from the beginning on social media. And now that they're seeing it actually on Kickstarter, when it's in the context of Kickstarter, people are like, where's all the stretch goals? And where's the faux leather deluxe rule book? And, people are really expecting a lot and really need to be excited. They constantly need but we got to get to this, this 72 millimeter miniature. So
you mean these shock troopers don't glow in the dark?
Right. Yeah. So I think it's a shame that this is the situation. So I think the all-in pledge is I think it's like 300. Like everything that they're producing for this Kickstarter is $325, but it's not a huge amount of plastic. Like that would be a coffin size, shipping box of, a board game, a Kickstarter add-ons and, expansions from CMON that would almost be, half your body weight if it came in the mail. And this is going to be, a more modest, 5 like unit boxes. So it's a shame that the expectations are so different, and hopefully with new platforms like GameFound, or if there's even, if like itch.io or somebody else, or Indiegogo becomes a more, popular space for board games and miniature games, that we can see projects like this, like have the appropriate amount of the expectations will be a little more correctly adjusted, because I think that's what Resnova is dealing with now, is people in the comments going, where's the whiz bang, wowie kazowie, because that's what Kickstarter is now. And just things like they're not going into the production of doing like custom dice for every faction, and a custom measuring tape included and there's not even a starter box. Like they're just doing like individual unit boxes. So I think for Kickstarter, that has a lot of people trying to pledge things confused. So it almost seems like Kickstarter does need to do a like an indie and a pro, or some sort of distinction, where they can say this is going to be over $1 million. So we're not going to hold these two campaigns side by side and let you choose between them, because you should know that this is this is not on the same scale. So
I'm sorry. Part of the reason I was asking about if I could pay for moving up on the page was I did a little experiment on Warzone.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Kickstarter because, first of all, I go to Kickstarter, obviously with the algorithm, it's like, hey, here's a bunch of games. You like games.
Mm-hmm.
Warzone was not there.
Oh.
So I did a little experiment, and I just keyword searched war games.
Mm-hmm.
Not there.
Interesting.
For miniatures, it was about 20th down.
Wow.
So something's going on with the algorithm, or how, I don't know if they set up like keywords or pick branches like eBay where this should appear in these areas.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there is in Kickstarter doesn't talk about where you can spend money to get
right
prominence, but they're probably suffering because of that. I mean,
yeah,
my whole algorithm knows I like games, and it was nowhere to be seen.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder, Resnova, Alex from Resnova did say that they hired a consultant. So that's the consultant helped them with like the timing of the launch and everything. So you'd think that they would have let them know, yeah, and if you want to give us a few bucks, we can probably put you on the front page. I'm wondering though, if the algorithm, it's just like, how fast, how much money is going into a certain project, gets it promoted. So I'm sure it's more of like a snowball effect. The more successful and the faster your project is increasing, probably the more prominence it's getting.
That would be unfortunate and kind of counter to what you're talking about, of them maybe doing like an indie backing kind of thing. I was thinking it might be views, but
yeah, you're right. Yeah, that could be.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder what it is that creates the creates that. And I know like someone in the comments was encouraging people to go to ClickTrack, I guess, or Kicktracker or something like that. But yeah. So yeah, the page that kind of monitors the campaign, gives you stats about the growth, and and if something's likely to successfully hit their goals or not. So I think popularity on there as well gets more visibility on that page, at least, if people are looking at it. Yeah, so it's very strange. But I guess though, if they did start to, divide projects into different categories, or amounts of funding, then that may change people's perception anyhow. So you may even get less visibility. It's probably better to be a small project and just get whatever you can out of the regular algorithm and promotion, than it would be to be, oh, you're in the indie ghetto, and well, some people look there, but most people
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, you might like actually lose like 25% of your potential pledges just because like, oh, I don't shop indie, I don't pledge indie.
Oh wow, miniature snobs.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
we weren't talking about Warhammer. Oh, sorry. Um,
Mm.
I think maybe also what they suffer from is just ad space in general, being
Hmm.
able to fund that, because it's in advance of the Kickstarter, being able to front money for ads. Because I didn't, again, algorithm. My
Hmm.
Instagram algorithm is all about games as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
And it was not until I did a Google search of some Warzone stuff, and then I went to Instagram. It was the first time I saw a Warzone ad.
Wow. Uh-huh.
So yeah, I know that with Instagram, Facebook, they can push out their ads for money
Hmm.
to target it, kind of like direct mail, and maybe they can't afford to do that. So it's kind of like screwed when you're new.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and this is their first campaign. So as opposed to CMON and Free League, who have had like a decade of crowdfunding experience, this is Resnova's very first Kickstarter campaign. So I think they've got a learning curve, and just like we saw with Chronopia crowdfunding, what they originally launched with, people were like, "What? I'm confused. How do I get this? How do I do this?" And they kept evolving the campaign page and offering different pledges and things to satisfy people. So hopefully Resnova will kind of do that same thing and make it more clear and give people, like, even if it's not technically a starter box with like groovy graphics on the front that say 2-player starter box, they can have a pledge level that's 2-player starter box. This is everything you're going to need. Here's your counters. Here's your 2 boxes of units, and the book, and maybe 2 copies of the book, and you're ready to go. So hopefully they'll do something like that, because there's expectations that are kind of built into these things, and I guess even like whatever the size of your project, you still have to anticipate those expectations that people have. Oh, so what in one box is everything that I need to play? That's very often with war games. That's what people have expectations for, and then even though it is an established IP, and they probably went into it thinking we're going to separate everything out because everybody has their own their old faction that they used to play. They're going to want to buy those, or they're going to get in on that. So we don't want to offer a starter box with 2 fixed factions that maybe aren't going to be the most popular. So that might have been based on like older game, because I think the company and the people that are working on this are fans of the old game, so they're coming at it not from what is the fresh new player going to need and how are they going to look at this game. They're coming at it like we're bringing back a classic, and everyone that's excited about that, which is obviously, I mean, they hit their goal in the first day, so obviously there's a built-in fandom of the IP. So they had success with that, but now is when they need to bring the new people in, the people that are like, what's Warzone? I thought that was Call of Duty or whatever, whatever
Oh
video game has that.
no.
Yeah. That's another. Yeah, Warzone is a tough Google search because there's so many video games using that name. But yeah, so there's
Right, I'm
yeah,
surprised. Warzone is Call of Duty, right?
I think so.
I'm surprised they didn't come after him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, hopefully it's generic enough that, and I think it's so much older than most video games. Yeah, I think it's like late
Video
'80s, early
game
'90s.
companies don't care.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. We've got more money. How long do you want to
Yeah,
fight this? Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's really true.
I feel because you interviewed them and you know so much about the background. Do you get the sense that they did a good guerrilla marketing campaign? Like, were they on, Reddit? Were they on Twitter? Were they on Board Game Geek? Were they? Do you think they were doing all the hard stuff?
Yeah, I not so much. I think because they were a little hesitant because I think they were still putting things together. So I think Warzone was a little bit more cautious than Chronopia was. Chronopia was just out there, and they just flooded. Everybody got a demo set of Chronopia. Like they flooded a resin set of
Awesome.
playable minis, out there. So many channels were talking about it. So many people were painting them, and they even included the community's videos on their page. And Chronopia had a little bit of a longer haul. Like it took them almost to the end of the campaign to get funded, but their enthusiasm was really great. And their Facebook community was a bit smaller, but much friendlier, much more. Everyone was really kind to each other and wasn't like, "What the hell is this?" and "You're ruining my game." And Warzone's got a little bit more of that. I guess like there must be some threshold where like you're just popular enough, you're just big enough that the trolls are like there's a line where that you cross where in come the trolls and in come the people that are just going to stir up trouble because of they have some very fixed idea of what this project should be. So Warzone suffered a little bit from that because right away on the Facebook group they were warning people about being toxic and not being constructive in their criticism, and I didn't see any of that on Chronopia. But of course, Chronopia ended up being a smaller project. But I don't know. It's difficult because I think you do have to have and maybe they missed like you're saying. I think they were out there a little bit more last year, kind of generating some of that buzz. And so by the time the campaign finally launched, they might have lost a little of that crest of enthusiasm because people were really expecting, because they talked about a December Kickstarter campaign. Resnova was talking about possibly end of the year. And so people were, really primed for that. And it just, because it was still pandemic conditions and everything, I think they just decided to let's wait and see, wait and get, more miniatures painted, more, rules finished. And so we have more to show. And so they may have the wave crested and it was kind of, receding back into the ocean when they finally were able to launch the Kickstarter.
Well, the shiny thing, it appeared. Distracted everyone.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's got to be really crazy to try to figure out timing for launching a Kickstarter because you don't want to run up. I mean, they're running up against Blade Runner. They're running up against a huge free league, and if you've got $100 you're going to spend on your hobby, over these next couple of months, you are going to be choosing between the two. So. Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably, whenever CMON's getting close to a Kickstarter release, all the other game companies have probably got it circled on their calendar, like we don't do anything in this period,
Yeah, at least during that, that initial launch week or whatever. Mm-hmm. And now that they're bringing big IPs to Kickstarter, that's not fair because of course you're going to see Marvel Comics or Star Wars or whatever, and you're going to say, "Oh, what's this all about?" And it's just got it's got such a built-in, like I was saying with Blade Runner, people are just, "Oh, Blade Runner, I'm going to buy that because I like Blade Runner." I don't know what tabletop role play is, but yeah, I don't know.
Pictures, bro.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so we'll see. We've still got a long time for Warzone, so we'll see how ultimately they do. And the nice thing, anybody that's looking at this project, the thing to keep in mind, this is all domestically produced in the U.S. So if you're in the U.S., the fulfillment and shipping and everything is going to be insanely reasonable. They're not going to have to deal with any sort of, they're not even dealing with Eastern Europe or, which is probably already difficult as China is. But they're not dealing with anything. So it's COCAS that's being produced domestically in the U.S. and even all of their printing is being done in the U.S.
That alone should attract some seasoned Kickstarter backers.
Yes. Yeah, that have seen things just get hung up and always, especially with CMON and some of the bigger board game companies, always you have we're trying to get this in before the Chinese New Year, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, so you're going to have to wait another month. Yeah, the Chinese New Year is always that bomb in the middle of February, like end of January, early February, that ruins your delivery date. Too many big holidays in China. With those factors.
An occasional lockdown.
Right. And occasionally whole cities just get frozen. Oh, yeah, that's crazy. But so I thought these three examples were an interesting range of kind of what's going on. It would give us some opportunity to talk about different different approaches and things. And I think overall for the tabletop industry, Kickstarter has been good. It may have picked some winners it shouldn't have. It may have made some kingmaker. It may have been a kingmaker inappropriately to companies like CMON, but overall, I think it's gotten us better quality, bigger productions, maybe bigger projects and bigger productions than we would have gotten had things and actual physical books. I think a lot of companies would probably have already shifted to just digital only, just to avoid all of the nightmares of shipping and fulfillment and everything, if there was no such thing as Kickstarter. But any final thoughts? What do you see it as, a bane or a boon to tabletop?
Kickstarter, I liken to the internal combustion engine.
Mm-hmm.
I need it.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely pushed society forward, but I know there's a better way.
Right. Yeah.
So I try not to use internal combustion engines when I can, but occasionally you got to do what you got to do. And Kickstarter is the same way. Like I'm usually not using it, but then Blade Runner shows up, and oh man.
Yeah.
That's a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and hopefully people seeing the success, there's going to be competitors, and the competitors will give us a more satisfying, solutions and be able to serve communities better. And the one thing I think we talked about a little bit in the preamble, so if you're a patron, you've already heard a little bit of this, but we were talking about Kickstarter flirting with crypto, blockchain and NFTs, and that being something that turned people off incredibly. There were companies that actually said, if you're doing this, we're canceling our projects because we don't want to get involved. And I think maybe from their naive perspective, we're looking at it as a way to open up the platform. If you can pay with cryptocurrency, then that opens it up to anyone. You could be in North Korea and pledge on Kickstarter, but I don't know if you're ever going to get anything shipped to you, but yeah, you can actually have access to the platform. But yeah, I don't know. So they're still in, I think, the deciding stage of that, but we'll see if they're going to be kind of swept away in this, kind of rush for, new technology or new ways to monetize things on the platform. Who knows? But yeah, so I think that just about covers it. So please leave us some questions in the comments, either below this video or wherever you're listening to this podcast, whatever podcast player you listen to, whatever platform, and let us know your feelings on Kickstarter, like what you really feel is good or bad about it, and what it's done, the effects that it's had on the industry as a whole. So I want to thank you very much, Matt, for joining me this week and filling Chris's shoes virtually. I keep saying virtually, it's just remotely. But I should be out of quarantine early next week, so hopefully Friday will be a normal weekly. And this was a little bit of a test, a single subject discussion with Matt and I, and you may see more of that in the future. We have plans, we have things we're thinking about. So yeah, thank you, Matt, and thanks to everyone for tuning in. Is there anything you want to promote, Matt? Where can people find you on the internet? Is there any place you'd like to be found?
I'm on Twitter, at Hargold, Haargald. And you can check out Friend or Foe on Drive-Thru RPG.
Excellent. Very good. Yeah. I'll put a link to that and also the Twitter on this video, so you can find Matt. And you can always find Matt in the chat, usually for this live stream as well. So Matt is a regular viewer of the live stream. So thanks very much for always being there. It's a lot of fun.
No problem.
All right. So upturntable.com is the website for everything. and Upturn Table on social media. If you're a patron, you can get the audio from this live stream, and when we talk to the chat after we finish the main discussion, you can get that all on the RSS feed for Patreon. And you can also join by clicking the join button below and become a YouTube member. And that'll even give you access to the Discord, which is still under construction. But and also there is a Patreon. So patreon.com/upturntable, and become a weekling to support this show specifically and let us know what you'd like to see more of. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. Goodbye. All right. Thank you, Matt.
Hey, that was fun.
Yeah. Now we can.
I'm off the intro.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. I should have actually said what I even wanted to do. So I needed to mention Chris's absence, but I guess visually they could tell right away something was wrong.
What's wrong with Chris? He doesn't look well. Oh no.
So let me switch over to the chat here, if I can get this window open, and we can. Where did it go?
On overdrive in the chat.
yeah. Nice. Oh, sorry. I'm just having a little technical thing. Where is the window with all of my? Oh, there we go. God damn. All right. So hey, Miguel. Yeah, Miguel. So yeah, Miguel and I had a little Facebook talk too. So we were already full of our anger and disgust for Kickstarter. Oh, Matt was a bit low. Okay, I'll try to bring you up, Matt. In the I had you up all the way. All right. Well, hopefully I can do some adjustment with the actual audio. Yeah, the way I've got this working is it's not very good. But thanks for letting us know what's going on. So Miguel was saying unbiased. Yeah, Kickstarter got themselves in big trouble when they're. Oh, that's right. I completely forgot about that. I was still thinking about the Kickstarter, the NFT and blockchain stuff. But that's right. Yeah, Kickstarter very openly started canceling comics projects, I guess related to Comicsgate and Gamergate type things. They were just deciding they were going to pick winners and losers and canceling projects based on kind of political beliefs and biases. I forgot about that. That was a bit ago. Thanks for that reminder, Miguel. That definitely definitely pissed off. I think that's why all comics creators or a majority of comics creators are on Indiegogo, because they were canceling projects. Yeah. So right now, $20 shipping for a kilo package suddenly turns into a 5 kilo box. Yeah, right. And that's right. It does skyrocket. Oh no. Sorry. Yeah. So I guess Matt, you're. I was looking at the levels.
Bad.
Yeah, we seem to be pretty good, but yeah, I'll try to fix that in the audio
Sorry.
itself. Yeah. Dang. The mistake was to sell it as modest. Not going beyond the reach is a good idea, but there are many ways to doll up a Kickstarter that doesn't involve wasting money. Oh, that's true. Yeah, maybe talking about the Res Nova campaign. Yeah, I think they that's true. They might have wanted to do some more bells and whistles and things that just sounded a little bit more funny. A riskier goal, extra minis in every box. Yeah, that's true. And I think Canopia did a good job with that. I think they're up to. They started at 4, and I think they're up to 5 or 6 minis per box for unit boxes based on success of based on the stretch goals. So another big mistake for Warzone was not to personally promote the Kickstarters themselves on all the Warzone groups and forums. In Daka Daka, the old Wargamer place, there was the fans were bringing the Kickstarter up, not Res Nova. Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why that was, because I did notice they were kind of conservative about where they talked and who they talked to. So I was happy to be able to talk to Alex before it was coming up, but he was very guarded about information as well. So I think they were just being very cautious about their approach. Yeah, yeah. I think Chronopia got a lot of awareness by how many people were doing videos. A lot of people unboxed that demo kit and everything.
I haven't played Warhammer Fantasy Battles since the 90s
Hmm.
and 40K since like the early 2000s. Is there a big overlap in fan bases, would you say, between those games and like Warzone and Chronopia?
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to tell because there's so many lapsed 40K players. There's so many people that like drop out. I think Eighth Edition turned off a lot of people, a lot of older, long-term players from 40K. So people kind of come and go. So I'm not sure, but I think there probably are like people that play, and it probably just has to do with like what you were exposed to in your childhood. I think what games, because I didn't have access to any, like Warzone wasn't around at all when I was a kid. I saw a little bit of Warhammer, but none of the Target games actually made it to my hobby stores or anything when I was a kid. So there's not as much nostalgia for me for those games as there would be for Warhammer. So it probably does depend, because I've seen people that only play non-Warhammer stuff, that are more dedicated to try to get like Mantic Games or somebody promoted more. But then, so many wargamers, their base was 40K. So yeah, it's hard to tell, because there's so many. I think Games Workshop has just angered so many people with some of their practices that a lot of people lapse. Yeah, yeah, that's true. So yes, that's right. Miguel asks, is complaining that somebody is messing up your IP if you're a fan of it, is that trolling? Oh, that's true. That's true. That's not. I mean, that's a thing that I think with Warzone they've been really sensitive to anybody that's been critical of their approach, and that's why I don't think they released early demo rules or anything. Is because they didn't want to hear any feedback at that point. I think because they'd already play tested and everything. So
You said it came out really early with warning people about being toxic, right?
yeah, on the Facebook group right away, I think Warzone attracted, and I wonder if that's because 40K has that has that component as well. I wonder if it's just war games, so, like fantasy war games, like the sci-fi war games. They are such a brutal setting, and a lot of like there's a lot of like metal fans and a lot of people that are attracted to those games that are there's a little shit stir, there's a little edgelord in them that they like, that comes out. So it does make sometimes those groups and things a little bit more turbulent. And I think it's very strange with Games Workshop trying to attract a new generation of Warhammer players, of 40K players, and not expecting those people to be in there. I mean, we had that story about that guy showed up at the tournament in Spain with like swastikas on his jacket just to be a pain in the ass. So it's like it's always, for some reason, that that genre of game or whatever does attract, and I think just like you could probably say in tabletop that oh my god, I can't believe this is pathetic. The World of Darkness, like the World of Darkness games, the vampire games like court a certain type of person and things. Vampire games have a certain type of player that they are attracted to, and some people don't want to mess with that. I think if you look at as opposed to like 5e, if you looked at World of Darkness stuff, there's definitely a different tone to how the players play the games and enjoy the games.
Sometimes World of Darkness players are doing it in the middle of dinner at Denny's, and you're like, what's going on here?
Oh man, I never thought of that.
Have you ever had that experience?
No, I've never.
Yeah, no. Oh, maybe it's just a California thing. I don't know. But yeah, World of Dark. It was what would you say the heyday was? Like early to mid '90s.
Yeah.
World of Darkness.
Yeah.
You go somewhere, and their resolution system was rock paper scissors.
Uh-huh.
So they would say like, "Curse you, Bruja," and then they'd start, and you're like, "Man, you're making us all look bad right now."
Oh man.
I want to be open-minded, but you're making gamers look bad right now. Get out of this Denny's and go home for that.
Oh, that's brutal. That's funny.
Sorry.
Yeah, I still remember. Yeah, speaking of Southern California, I still remember seeing billboards for vampire cults in like North Hollywood. Like they had enough money that they could take out a billboard and like give you like a 1-800 number to join their vampire group. It's like, okay, I don't know what that's about.
Is that tied in with that horrible television show?
No, I think it was like completely like an independent thing. Yeah, it was like
Okay.
literally somebody that had like a group, and it's just like, hey, join us. Like, wow, because it was really like really poorly put together. Like it didn't have any of the production. Like if it would have been for a TV show, even if they're pretending to be kind of guerrilla, it would have had a certain look. And this was just amateur, super amateur hour.
Wow.
Yeah, seeing those billboards at night is always very disturbing. I wonder where your life has gone if you're like calling a number on a vampire billboard.
These vampires have got it all figured out.
Oh man. Oh, Miguel made an interesting point. Yeah, being afraid of failure, it just primes you to fail. Yeah, I think like being too cautious and just not showing your passion for a project on a Kickstarter or in any sort of crowdfunding definitely makes people a little bit worried about are you really in this? Do you have any skin in the game?
And the community engagement thing can be rewarding, but it is a slog.
Mm-hmm.
It's the hard part. And
Yeah, and that's true. That's why so many people have like dedicated, like even small companies have a dedicated, community manager, just because that's so much work to interact with people and keep, people informed and send them links for customer service and make sure that they have a good connection to the company. And I don't think because Resnova. Alex explained it's just him. There's basically nobody in-house. So when they did this Warzone project, it's all contractors. So they went out and just picked the best people from who was available, like who wasn't currently working on a big project, and contractors for illustrators and even like the painters and everything. And the sculptors, they got who was available. And for a smaller company, first-time project, I'm sure that's a lot more challenging. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Miguel is full of good points now too. Yeah, the censor on so trying to control that, like deleting people and banning people in your Facebook group, just means they're going to go over to another platform and say what they said with that much more anger for being shut down on your page. Yeah, I think
they'll bring the screenshots.
yeah, right. Yeah, I think you just have to confront it. You just have to kind of, stick out your chin and take one, to take one for the company, and be able to address, because I think that's how I think trolls, if you're going to consider critics of what you're doing, trolls or trolling, that's the value that they have, is that they give you an opportunity to prove yourself, to prove your dedication, to prove that your approach is solid, that your thinking is good, that your business plan is, going to work. That kind of criticism, even though sometimes it seems like unsolicited, attacks as a good way for companies to reinforce what they're up to, and that will help people decide whether or not they're on your side, and will get people that are committed to what you're doing that much more committed. Yeah.
There's a difference between negative comments or pessimistic comments, or someone being real pushy with their questions. There's a difference between that and just being like abusive,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's probably harder for a brand new company with new people who've never done this before to kind of recognize when to draw the line.
Oh, that's true. And you do kind of have to have a thick skin, and criticism that is just posted as a comment on the Facebook can just sit there. I mean, we get, because it's YouTube, we get miserable comments and some videos, and it's just like, is it really worth, deleting or even responding to? And, if anybody is enjoying what we're doing on YouTube, they'll either, that will reinforce their, connection to what we're doing, or that'll make them say, yeah, I do hate that guy's hair, whatever. That guy's voice does piss me off too. Okay, I'm unsubscribing. Yeah. Oh, right. Well, this has been fun from my little hacker den here. Thanks, Miguel. It's been really fun to go back and forth with you about the Kickstarters and kind of what's going on with Warzone and everything. Mm-mm. Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. The community manager, yeah, that is definitely an important role that I think people are. That's probably the first thing. If you're going to have at least one more employee, that's probably the first thing you should invest in, is someone to manage all of that response. Because I think that's, especially now in this day and age, that silence, that kind of not corporate, but a company being silent, a company having no response or having no reply to legitimate questions, or just people asking for clarification on something, does read as either we're too good for you or we don't have any answers, so we're just going to keep quiet. Yeah. So that's difficult. Oh, wow. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah. That is too bad, because I know there's a huge passionate Warzone community in the Spanish language community. Yeah, I met Alfie from doing the Warzone lore videos. So, oh, that's too bad. Yeah, so we will see how things go with that. I'm curious. I really want to see those full rules. They did a little abbreviated PDF of the rules, but we didn't see many stat. There was one example stat line for Warzone Eternal, one example stat line, and generally the rules not. I don't think everything fleshed out, but a lot of stuff. There's not any points economy like there it was with Chronopia, but we're still rolling low on D20s, just in case anybody was wondering. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this week. And thanks, everybody, for hanging in there. And this additional Patreon added value discussion in the comments. And I can have a live discussion with Matt. So you're not even in the comments, Matt. You're in real life.
I know, right? I can't type and talk at the same time. That's why.
All right. But yeah, so look forward to future things. Matt and I are cooking up something that maybe a fun regular discussion to do online. And I hope that works out. And I will get Matt's volume level up higher next time. No, I'll go through and try to sweeten that up on the audio. But we'll get the technical bugs worked out. I barely got this kind of put together technically before we started, so apologies.
Trust me,
for that.
I watched it from behind the scenes. He's working magic here.
And all without any subscribing to any deluxe services from Discord or anything. Ugh, what a mess. All
You're
right.
Smart.
Well, take care, Miguel. See you next time. And Matt, thanks as always. So yeah, we'll have to we got to get some actual play thing going on too. I would really love to do some virtual tabletop. I've gotten pretty familiar from doing the Warhammer Fantasy stuff. I've gotten pretty familiar with Astral. That's pretty easy to customize. So I might throw together some scenes and a campaign on Astral, and we'll do something. That'll be fun. But so we can just do Discord video and the Astral desktop, and I'll have to figure out yet another way to make all those things work together. All right. But so everyone take care, and I will get out of quarantine as soon as possible. So everyone is doing well, on this end that was exposed. So my daughter recovered quickly, and I am showing no symptoms. So I'm just staying inside for precaution. And actually the Japanese health ministry sends you the date when you can leave your house because it based on who you were exposed to and the date of the positive test. They then send you a piece of paper that says you can leave your house on May 26th. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But they also sent you. I talked about this in the cartoon stream, but they also sent a blood oxygen test. So if you're feeling a little bit of respiratory distress, you can actually like find out if you should get to the hospital. And oh yeah, so I didn't promote that on the main part, but yeah, the abuse cartoons. If you'd like to hear more of me just talking to myself and drawing pictures of inanimate objects, abuse cartoons on both YouTube and Twitch. All right, let's wrap this up for this week. So take care, everyone, and see you next time.
Hi, everyone.
Goodbye.